What's up everyone, Wesley Malott here, and today we are going to continue talking to Phillip and Chloe Carroll about the process of getting a distribution deal for their very first feature film, The Honeymoon Phase, which is available currently on video on demand. During the writing process, were you concerned about the marketability for the film at all? And if so, how did that affect the story writing process?
I would say we thought about the marketability a little bit because using the movie to jumpstart our filmmaking careers was something that was very important to us. And a lot of times you judge a film from a business perspective on, did you make back your money and did you make money? So most indie films unfortunately do not break even, and we really wanted to make it a point to at least make our money back on the movie and hopefully make some money for our investor too. I wouldn't say that it directed the creative decisions totally, but it did involve, some discussions on like cast, like does this person have maybe a social media following, or are they a name that could bring some pedigree to the movie? So on that front it did. And what?
So Phil thought, I'll cast my no-name wife as the lead.
Yep.
What are you saying?
Hey!
How do you know it wasn't real?
I was with you.
Don't tell me to calm down. She's manipulating us.
You're the one running away, not me! I love you, and you learn to love me too.
I also think that Chloe and I were marketing the film to people like us when we wrote it. We, as a young couple, we love like domestic thrillers. It's like a weird, like guilty pleasure of ours, I guess. So we wanted to do kind of like a modern day twist on what the domestic thriller is, using kind of the aesthetics of Black Mirror and mixing them with, Fatal Attraction. So yeah, in that way, we were marketing towards ourselves and people like us.
What was the process of raising your budget for this film, and do you mind disclosing range of what that budget was for anybody out there wondering?
So for The Honeymoon Phase, we wrote it with a low budget in mind because our intent was to finance the movie with whatever money we had saved and a crowdfunding campaign. We were lucky enough to bring on an investor who really believed in Chloe and I's passion. I think that from my experience, when you're first starting out and you have no proven track record, investors tend to want to invest in you because they believe in you. In our case, Chloe and I were so passionate about our story that our investor wanted to take a chance on us and wasn't financing The Honeymoon Phase. They were financing us as creatives. So I think in terms of advice to anybody out there, looking to make their first feature, I think it's important that whenever you talk about your movie, you talk about it like it's your child, like it's your baby. You're proud of them already before they're even made. In terms of the budget for the film, unfortunately, we can't disclose it right now because we're still accruing costs. Like we're in the distribution phase of it, so we don't know what the final number is going to be. But what I can say is it's independently financed. We're under $1 million, and hopefully, with the sales of the movie, we'll be able to make our investor whole and hopefully see a little bit of profit on the movie so that we can do this again, because that's the real goal with the movie. We wanted to reach people, hopefully leave them impacted in an emotional way, and then use whatever money we can from the movie to hopefully make another one.
Especially for low-budget filmmakers that are looking to make that leap into features, they don't really think about the distribution aspect of the process. Can you just discuss the distribution process and like what it was like for you guys going through it?
Sure. So going into the movie, we had no idea what we were in store for on the distribution front. You think you get into a festival and then there's a bidding war at night and the movie's sold and that's the end of that. Maybe it works that way for some people. For our film, it was a much different path. We thought since it was our first time, it was important to bring somebody on that knew what they were doing in terms of distribution. Through our friend Jen Wexler, who directed The Ranger, we met her at Shutter Labs when we were fellows there, and we reached out to her for some advice. She watched the film and enjoyed it and said that she would put us in touch with the sales agent that represented her film. So Jen put us in touch with her sales agent, Andrew Vandenhouten, who's been a producer of a multitude of award-winning films that went to Sundance, South by, The Woman, Darlin',
The Girl Next Door.
The Girl Next Door, a bunch of genre classics. And he agreed to watch the film, and he really loved it. So he came on board to represent the film under his company, 79th and Broadway, and took care of the sales aspect of it, and really gave us kind of a crash course in film distribution, how this works. He helped us produce the trailer, get the artwork for the one sheet, and position the film for the marketplace. It was Andrew who negotiated the deal with Dark Sky Films, our awesome distributor, and Chloe and I were so excited when Dark Sky was interested because they were a distributor that we actually recognized. They do some amazing genre films, sci-fi, horror. So Dark Sky's handling the distribution now. They acquired worldwide rights. And from there, they have partners internationally that will distribute the film in their home territories. So like Germany, we have it coming out, South Korea, Eastern Europe, all these different territories are then sold off individually. So it's a really amazing process. We're still learning it as we go through it because they're still selling territories as we near the release of the film. And it's just a really cool thing to learn. As indie filmmakers, a lot of times you don't have access to this kind of knowledge. They don't really teach it in school. It's kind of like you learn through doing.
So from social media, we have the question, were you offered an MG or a back-end only payment?
Great question. Prior to doing the honeymoon phase, we had no idea what an MG was. You know, is it on the periodic table? Like, what is this? So we had to, acquaint ourselves with the terminology. So as you make movies, you learn all this terminology that's so important. So I think the first part of the question then should be to explain what an MG is. So an MG is a minimum guarantee, which is a payment that a distributor will make upfront to the filmmaker in exchange for the licensing rights of the film. The film will then have to make that money back minus the expenses that the film incurs for the distributor. And then after that point, the filmmaker will then start making money again off the film. So for instance, if your MG was $1,000, the distributor would have to make $1,000 plus the expenses that they put into the film for marketing. And then you would start seeing money return for the film. Again, because we're in the middle of this process, we can't disclose what the MG was. We were able to get an MG for the film, which is rare today for an indie film, so we were really lucky in that regard. But it's a very interesting process to navigate all of this, and I think that's why my piece of advice for if you have a film that you're thinking about producing or you have an already produced film, bring on a reputable sales agent if this is your first time. Even if it's your 10th time, I think it's great to have a sales agent who can walk you through these deals, help you market the film in the best possible way so that it reaches a distribution partner that will be the perfect fit for you.
And they can help you before you even do the festival circuit. So bring them on in the early stages and they will tell you like what to do, If you don't know what you're doing, they'll be like, all right, here's the festivals I would approach.
And even if you're in pre-production, if I were to do one thing differently, it would to have been to meet Andrew before I shot the film. To help us navigate some of the marketing things,
Right.
We were lucky enough to have the foresight to get promotional stills of like Tom and Eve and the main characters in front of a green screen, so that we had poster assets. That was really important to us, and we had an amazing cast on the film, so we were lucky in that regard too. But if you're thinking of making a movie, maybe consider reaching out to a sales agent because they can tell you specifically, okay, it sucks to like break things down like this. Like you always want to think creatively, but it is important if you're making your first film to also think about this from a marketing perspective. But a sales agent can tell you, okay, this actor has this audience. So, for instance, this person may be big in China. So maybe we should, cast this actor because the film will do well in China. Or this person has a sci-fi audience. So why don't we go out to them with the script because they'll love the script and they'll be passionate about the story and it'll be a great collaboration. And a sales agent will be the one that kind of have that knowledge. So yeah, just some I guess a helpful piece of advice would be, whatever stage you are in your film, try and reach out to a reputable sales agent and get their thoughts.
Did you have a lawyer to review the contract with your distributor?
So we had a lawyer review every contract in the project. Our lawyer was amazing, was with us every step of the way, and really walked us through the entire process of making the movie. The lawyer was, our lawyer, Daniel Benj, he was almost like a film school unto himself.
Yeah.
He kind of let us know what we should be on the lookout for, how to avoid getting screwed. Because there's a lot of people out there that'll try and screw you as an independent filmmaker. It's really, really sad. So you have to be careful. We were lucky enough to avoid those pitfalls. We had some close calls, but you know, you do your best to do your homework. Even if you can't afford a lawyer, there's pro bono services for artists out there. Like I think Philly has a pro bono artist services network. I remember when I was in college, one of the law schools in Philly had a law clinic for law students where they would team them up with locals who needed legal services. And then they had an accredited lawyer at the university review the work of the law student. So there's lots of different ways to have your contracts reviewed. But definitely, if whatever stage you're at, if you're making contractual agreements, you should have a lawyer. And this is my disclosure too. I am not a legal counsel or an accountant. Just one guy who just made a feature and just offering my advice based off of what I've experienced.
What was the least and most anxious part of the entire process for both of you?
The whole thing. The whole thing, and sitting in the movie theater and watching it and being like, what will people think? Because, you know, you just went on this journey that's like super long, super stressful, so much hard work, and, you know, you're looking to see if people are yawning, you know, do they, you know, it's just all those like anxious thoughts, like, was it worth it? Because you feel judged in the hour and a half that it plays. Yeah, so just everything.
I think the scariest part for me, I think, was showing my script to my friends for the first time before I finished it, because at that point it just lived in my head and I showed it to people for the first time. So it was so nerve-wracking to see if people responded to it or not. Being on set, you almost don't have enough time to be anxious or afraid because you're so focused on getting the day done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really the script writing phase was the most anxious for me.
What's next for both of you?
I just wrote my first feature with my wonderful co-writer Rick Hansberry, and I'm hoping that I can try and get that made. I'm going to try everything I can to get it made because I love it. We shot the short version, which we put into the festival circuit.
What's it called?
Alicia, and I will also use that as a proof of concept to try and get the feature made. We had an absolutely amazing director called Wesley Millot, who came on board and did a great job, and I can't wait to show you all the short film when it comes out, and then hopefully the feature film. I'm just gonna try and get it made.
For me, I just finished my next feature script called Stuck in Our Heads about a young senior high school girl whose anxiety comes to life. And we are packaging that right now to hopefully take to the market, and hopefully that'll be my next feature, which I'm really excited for.
And that is going to do it for today's episode. Just a really quick reminder that the Honeymoon Phase is available on VOD platforms, and the link to the Amazon Prime rental is in the description below. The Apple TV version of the film contains all of the behind the scenes that you would get on the DVD, which contains over 10 deleted scenes, a making of featurette, a VFX breakdown, and much, much more. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, share it, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment below, and we'll see you next time for another episode.